Hi, Romulus back here. I hope y'all are having a good day. I just want to post a video, talk about a few things. We've had some really good videos posted in the community over the past few days. Um, just a lot of talent, really. Okay, I want to piggyback on a topic discussed by Mandrake the other day, and he's posted several videos since he came back, as y'all know. And what a cool guy. He's just a super cool guy. One of the videos he posted was about fighting. And I think that while most of us, if not all of us, want to try to work things out in a conciliatory sort of way, an irrational sort of way, in the event of a divorce, collaboratively, not necessarily with an attorney. Dealing with these narcs, they don't stand to reason, they don't listen to reason. And it's very frustrating because it's the gaslighting, that's all part of it. And you know that you're right and that they're being unreasonable and unfair, and they're making things a lot more difficult than they need to be. And so there is a time, I think, when it's necessary to fight, using the legal system or administratively or whatever, because a lot of times these narcs, they like the chaos, and I think the justice system likes the chaos too. And I'm beginning to uncover information about how much money they benefit from, all the funding, the obvious and not so obvious funding that, counties and states receive. And I'm beginning to realize that there's a lot of hoarding of it going on, money that should be going to people to help them, victim compensation. People who are applying for TPO or whatever. And so I really liked what Mandrake had to say. It really resonated with me. And, I was thinking earlier tonight, about, some of the things I was going to talk about in the video. I watched a show in the 90s, as I know a lot of y'all may have, Melrose Place. And I'm going to devote a whole separate video to Melrose Place. It's going to be really cool, but just not tonight. One of the things that I remember, there's a scene in Melrose Place where one of the characters, he played the gay guy, was fired from his employer, and he's talking with his employment attorney, and she said, they're trying to, work out a resolution, and she said that they will only do what we force them to do. And that's the way it is with narcs. They will only do what they're forced to do, which brings me back around to some of the important character traits, or the traits that narcs lack, and that's character. And now character can mean a bunch of different things, but one of my interpretations of character is doing the right thing even when you're not forced to. That's character. And that's the danger of these narcs, is you can't depend on them to do the right thing. And that creates a lot of problems. A lot of you know about the problems that it creates, and some of you are beginning to find out. But I do believe in picking your battles, and sometimes it is necessary to fight. I mean, really, a lot of what's going on, and I didn't come up with this term, I read about it somewhere from someone a lot smarter than me, but there's a term called intimate terrorism. Now, terrorism can come in all forms, but you can bet your bottom dollar that relationships are not immune from terrorism. I mean, terrorism is a broad term. And that's what a lot of us are going through, is intimate terrorism. And, you can't reason with, these terrorists. Our government is set up with diplomats and State Department, in our intelligence community. We try to pull all these resources together to get the information we need and to try and, stave off a conflict. But that's what a lot of this is. It's intimate terrorism. And I'd like to think this will continue and get into the consciousness of human beings. And I think that I'd like to see narcissistic abuse, intimate terrorism, all these join the family or list of torts, of civil wrongs that people can pursue against others. So that's the fighting part. Mandrake, thanks for the inspiration for that segment of my video. The next part, and I guess this is sort of related, is mental management. Now I'm going to go ahead and read the definition, and this is something that I think could help all of us. And this is not something I know a lot about, but it's something that's utilized in the corporate and military community, including in our special forces, that enable people, groups, to get through some really crappy times and still keep their sanity. And that's important and that's relevant because of all the crazy making. I know just earlier today, when I was ruminating about something, I got caught up, sucked into some of this crazy making, and then I pulled away, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. I'm in the right, and they're in the wrong, and if I was in the wrong, I have the character and the integrity to come clean, and take ownership of it. But mental management, let me read this definition. It's the process of improving the probability of having a consistent mental performance under pressure, on demand. Okay, so a lot of us, this narcissistic abuse affects us mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and physically, and financially. And I'll do a separate video on financial abuse. But it's important. I mean, I know that a lot of people in the corporate and military community dedicate a lot of time and training to this area, this mental management, to toughen them and help them get through the difficult times. And, it's harder for us. It's not to say that narcs, cluster Bs don't feel stress and anxiety, but it's just not the same. They're like Ali said, they're more robotic and they don't feel as much, and it's just a lot harder on the victims, or the survivors. So that's mental management, and I'm going to continue to learn more about it and what role it plays in public and private life, and how it could benefit this community, and I'm just going to read more about it and try to report back what I've uncovered. Okay, the last thing I want to do is I want to talk. I want to read rather an article. It's 13 successful ways to deal with toxic people. And I got this off of the productivity website. And so there's a little precursor. It says, among friends, family, and coworkers, there are those whose attitudes can be demeaning and toxic. It it is difficult relating to someone, to some of these people, and thus it becomes a challenge, which that just supports the whole no contact. You're like, just F it. You know, these dealing with these narcs is exhausting. So how do we get out from the hole and be masters of our own fates? And I like that because it's like, okay, take action, kick ass. You know, I know you're a codependent and a people pleaser, at least I was. But that's in the past, and we're going about living life in a different way. One that's more conducive to self-love and self-care. Number one, they set limits. Okay, now, I can tell you right now, I didn't know anything about setting boundaries growing up. I didn't even know anything about it until I got into my 40s, I'll be honest with you. Isn't that crazy? Toxic people try to consume you and make you swim deep in their problems. They don't want to see solutions, so they can waste your time by pressuring you to join their pity party. Well, that relates back to what I was saying about the fighting and the mental management. Successful people understand that there is a fine line between offering to listen to the problems and getting themselves involved too deep, and the negative emotional twists of such complainers. That is why they set limits and distance themselves when necessary. And you know, this resonates with me because, you know, I have a good heart. I love helping people. And maybe I don't do it for the healthiest reasons. I don't know. But, you know, I would get sucked in and really deep in. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell am I doing? This is like too intense. And, you know, and now I'm better able to just, you know, pull away and say, hey, look, dude, I mean, this, you know, this is the best I can do, you know, and you know, I got things I have to get to. And I'm respectful, but I set the boundaries. Two, they don't expect to request change. By expecting change, you lower your energy and create a resistance in people that they will do. Part of this got cut off. All right, by expecting change, you lower your energy and create resistance in people. Healthy people don't demand actions or instant change, whereas narcs do. And in addition, as Ollie and Mandrake, Annabelle, Christy, and running from chaos, they change the goalpost. And that's frustrating when they do that. You know, and hearing people do that and experiencing it are two different things. It wasn't long before I started listening to these videos that I first experienced the whole changing the goalpost. And I'd experienced an event right around the time of the video, and I didn't really fully understand it. Now I do. They don't get embroiled in fights. Successful people know how important it is to store energy. And when it comes to battling with a toxic person, they do well to manage their emotions. By managing their emotions, they can live to fight another day and avoid being brutally beaten. They choose their battles wisely and always pick the right time to be engaged in a fight. Just like, you know, kind of what I was saying before. They don't allow anyone to restrict their happiness. I've been really bad at that, real bad. I'm aware of it, though. Successful people do not allow other people's opinions to determine their joy. They are masters of their own happiness. And so anything that is successfully accomplished and needs to be celebrated cannot be affected by what toxic people are thinking or doing. And remember, you know, we don't want to have a relationship with these people, so who gives a crap what they think? 5, they don't forget. By not forgetting what a wrongdoer has done to them, successful people can move on and focus on protecting themselves from future harm. It is not as if forgiveness doesn't play a part to their success, but they simply do not want to be involved in the mistakes of others. 6, they forge a support system. Successful people understand that battling a toxic person alone can be exhausting. To avoid such nerve-wracking mental exercise, they surround themselves with healthy people. And again, that could take us back to the whole mental management. They get rest. I dedicate this one to Annabelle Lee. Did awesome videos on sleep deprivation, not getting sleep. And anyway, they understand the need to stay positive, creative, and proactive. And the way they can do this is by getting some sleep. With a well-deserved rest, successful people can manage their stress levels and be recharged enough to deal effectively with toxic people. And that's one of the reasons why you always hear or see during some of the special forces training, they're sleep deprived, or they're on very little sleep. They focus on solutions rather than problems. Does this not resonate with you? Have you ever been on the phone and the person's talking about a problem the whole time and you're like, dude, let's work on the solution? The best way to manage your emotional state is to fixate on the solution to the problems you're facing. Successful people focus on personal development and improve their circumstances. Thus, their attitude produces positive emotions and reduces stress. Instead of thinking or focusing on how crazy toxic people can be, they think of how they can handle the situation toxic individuals have presented. God, that's sucked me in, boy. And this is where the critical thinking comes in. And if you're like me, some of you are, some of you aren't, but if you're like me, critical thinking wasn't something impressed upon me or instilled in me at a young age, something I had to learn. They set barriers or boundaries. You can't deal with everyone in the same way. That is why successful people establish boundaries to rise above the negative people around them. By doing this, they can predict the actions of toxic people. This also equips them with knowing when to put up barriers with negative people and when not to. 10, they are self-aware. By being self-aware, you're able to determine how far anyone can go before she pushes your buttons. Maintaining an emotional distance requires awareness. That is why successful people can manage situations even when they are in unfamiliar situations. They rise above negativity. Everyone will agree that toxic people are irrational and crazy. They cannot be reasoned with. Ollie, that's you, man. They can't be reasoned with. Mandrake, you too, dude. So instead of trying to get muddled up in the mix, they focus on not responding to the frenzy and chaos and respond only to the facts. These narcs, it's almost like they have this emotional magnet. They have this emotional magnet that just sucks us in. They never play the victim. And again, we're talking, if you're just tuning in, we're talking 13 ways successful people deal with toxic people. We're on number 12. They never play the victim. While toxic people can play the field to their advantage, you are left to decide whether you play the victim or not. Successful people do not allow themselves to be victimized by their emotional state and instead focus on owning up from within to whatever negativity that surrounds them. Last one, 13, they never judge. Successful people are not judgmental. Christy, running from KS, that's you, girl. And I'm right on the same page with you. Gosh, that's one of my pet peeves, people that are judgmental. And does it have to do with my upbringing, family of origin? Yeah, it probably does. And boy, I have my moments, but it's brutal when people judge you. They understand that this can become addictive if they make it a habit. That is why successful people focus on other elements such as compassion, understanding, respect, and forgiveness. And you know what? That's part of who we are. That's part of me. That's part of you. Having compassion, understanding, empathy, respect, forgiveness. We truly want to be treated the same way that we treat others. And that's another obvious or not so obvious reason to go no contact, because these people do not have your back. There's no reciprocity. Ollie just did a video, couple days ago, and at the end of the day, you know, narc or no narc, if you have someone in your life, they got to have your back. Oh, Self Love for You is another cool channel. She has done some great videos. One of them about like longing for your ex-partner, even though they're really bad for you and they're just a bad person. Anyway, so that's going to be it for tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave comments in the description box below. And y'all have a great rest of your night. Okay, thanks.